The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Are you ready to take a journey? Let's connect with the healers of the world. It's that time. It's time for the Language of Healing on W4WN Radio and Talk 4 TV. Now here's your host, Dr. Nicole Fortin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Language of Healing podcast. This is the show where we exchange ideas, philosophies, and experiences with all things related to health, healing, and good life living for your personal and professional growth. And I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Fortin, and I'm especially excited about this podcast and this project because it's a platform for me to take what I like, my passions and my interests, and share that knowledge and experience with you, because in today's culture of stress and overwhelm and overstimulation and so much information, it can be difficult to cut through the BS and get really clear on what it is that you want, what it is that is, matters to you in regards to your health, relationships, career, purpose in life. And when those things aren't balanced, it can be disruptive and draining. And so this show is a place where we can make fun and light of life and truly begin to play at life and enjoy life as an adventure, which is something that I'm all about, and so much more that we will get into as we go on. Let's introduce the other man on the screen here. We got our sidekick.
Who the hell is he?
The super stellar Pipe Man, Dean K. Piper. Welcome.
First, I'm so honored to be your co-host on this show, but also whoever that dude is that did your intro, he's really good. I love his voice.
Yeah, I can connect you with him. You want his contact?
No, I don't like him very much. I already know who he is.
Yeah. For those who don't know, it's you, because you've got like a whole list of amazing credentials and ventures, and you are a natural born legend.
Well,
and
thank you.
I'm very honored and happy to have you on the Language of Healing as well. So,
well, I'm going to need some healing on this show because this morning my power cord to my laptop was sparking, which is not a good thing.
Like real flames.
Yeah, and it wasn't charging. So I wasn't going to be able to do the show. And so I had, and of course, as you know, and maybe the listeners know, I was in Costa Rica for like 3 months, and there was no rain, not even a drop for 3 months. And of course, I'm back in Florida, and today I had to go out in a storm to go try to find on a adventure to find a power cord just to do this show today. And here I am.
Whoa, that's pretty epic. What an adventure. Way to start it off.
Yeah. And our engineer will tell you, Rebel will tell you that literally I fixed the whole situation 5 minutes before I came on here.
Okay. Well, timing is everything, isn't it? Divine timing. Sometimes you can plan so much, and then that last minute moment, it's like all plans go out the window, and now it's improvised.
And that's why I don't worry. Why worry? If you want to achieve your goals and your dreams, worrying is just going to get in your way, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen, whether you worry or not. Okay. To me, worry is like one of those emotions that we overuse because we worry about things that may or may not ever happen. And I could have sat there and worried like, oh crap, I won't be able to be on the show. Instead, you didn't even have an idea. I didn't text you. I didn't call you because, listen, there's no reason for anybody to know anything until there's a reason. And I'm a big believer, in order to achieve your goals and your dreams, you need to solve the problem opposed to worrying about the problem. So I solved the problem because I couldn't miss this show with the guests that you have today, who I've been on the phone with. And I am so excited that on your new season that she's the first guest, because she's somebody that if I'm listening, I would want to know if I wanted to achieve my goals and dreams.
Mhm. Yeah, well, no, we have a great guest lined up today too, and I did get word from a little bird that she also ran into some glitches today. So isn't that the nature of the beast? And here we all are. I guess that's like part of it, part of life. And with the language of healing, even it comes around to like healing is like non-linear. You can't plan that. It's not textbook. It's not, it's not like one size fits all. And life happens, and then it's really about how we react and respond, react or respond to life, and I believe that every day is a practice. Every day is a
Yep.
practice run. We get new opportunity to learn and grow and try again. And if you failed the first time, it will show up again and again and again.
There you go.
But I'm
Well,
happy that you got all that resolved. And
yeah,
you're
so
here.
let's bring on our guests.
Okay, so yeah, another note though, because in the background, making all the magic happen, and the back end, we have Rebel Medler, who's, maybe she'll say hello, and she's making all this happen on the back end. Sound engineer.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Rebel. We'll hear from her every now and again, and but yeah, let's introduce our guest then. Why not? We have Anita Adams. So welcome her on, and we can hear all about her and her new book, Whispers of the Soul, and your guide to clarity, confidence, and joy. I love that. I love that name. By the way, welcome. Thanks for making it as well.
Yeah, thanks so much to be here. And I'm sitting in the green room listening to you guys banter, and I'm just delighted. I love the energy. I love your dedication, Pipe Man, to be here and do what you can to make things work, and all of that. It's pretty awesome.
Well, and isn't it true though? Like you can sit there and focus on like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then nothing gets done. Or you get up, you go out, and you find yourself a power cord so you can do your show.
That sounds so manly. Get up, go out, find yourself a power cord. Yes.
Right? It's funny you should say that, because I guess you're right. That is, there's something to do with language. Because one thing being a father to 3 daughters has taught me is there's definite another language you have to learn besides your own. And that leads to language of healing, because we all speak different languages, not even just males and females, but just in general, where you're geographically from, can make a difference. What experiences you've had. I know people that, like, if they don't believe what they believe, they must be the other people must be the uninformed people. And my answer to them is, well, maybe they just had different influences. Maybe they had different experiences. Maybe they were from a different period. Maybe they were from a different place. There's so many myriad of things that I think one of the keys to reaching our goals and dreams is to be able to understand other people, especially the people that are not like us.
Yeah, and being curious is the way to go. And just if you have a curious heart and just enter every conversation and every situation with a state of curiosity, it really gets you through all sorts of challenges and helps you to keep an open mind. And it's simple. I mean, it's just simple if we adopt this attitude of curiosity, right?
Yeah. So what were some of the steps that you went through here this morning with your little glitch? Because I was thinking this is like a big day for you. This is like book launch day. You've been prepping for this for quite some time. I can only imagine the work like I love writing, and I've been working on a book for 6 years now, and it's like not reached completion or even close to it. So I just really admire the dedication and the commitment it takes to bring that to completion. So today is a big day, and I was just like, well, I wonder where she's at and like how that feels to be on that day. And then, you know, I get your message and it's like, oh, everything's like not happening as planned. But that's, isn't that life? So
Well, let me tell you. Oh gosh, it's so interesting and eye-opening, and I feel like I'm having to learn what I preach, practice what I preach, you know? So yes, it's been a big journey in writing this book, bringing it to fruition. It's been 2 years in the making. I put my business literally on hold to really just hunker down and get this book out. Then I hit a wall about 6 months ago. Fear gripped me. Because I was so freaked out about taking that next step and how to bring this vulnerable story into the world. And that's when I brought on somebody. I realized I needed, even though I knew what I needed to do, I was scared. I was fearful. And so I found somebody that I could literally, she could hold my hand and help me through that next step. And so in the last 6 months, I've been really focusing on, now that this is the publishing. Now that I got the book done and I've got it all, lined up. I've been working with partners. I have 50 partners, launch partners that I'm working with to help bring this book into the world, and advanced readers and all of that. So there's a lot of behind the scenes activity that was going on, and all these partners geared up to get the word out that this book launches on April 30th, 2024. And there's so much excitement around it. And then Amazon, I'm on Amazon, and well, I don't know. It's just not live yet. It's just not live. It's sitting in the back end with a note saying that it's in review. And it's been in that stage for about almost a week now. And it's supposed to take 72 hours to, go live. So the first, when I realized that might not go live on our due date, the cuss words that came out of this little mouth, fast and furious and gnarly. And then I took a breath and I realized, okay, you know what, this is completely out of my control. Like what you were saying, Pipe Man. What's your real name, Pipe Man?
My real name is Dean, but most people on the radio don't know that, so don't tell them.
Oh, I'm sorry, I revealed. Dean, Pipe Man, pardon me, Pipe Man. What you were saying about, you just go and you take care of what needs to be done and stop worrying. And that's absolutely true. And we need to recognize sometimes there's things that are just out of our control and we have to let go. And
that's the key. That's the key right there. Because I always say that to my kids, even. It's like, stop worrying about things that you have no control over. Worry about what you do have control over, which is basically your attitude towards whatever's happening.
Absolutely. That's your mindset. You've got that control over how you choose. So how hard is the publishing process? Wow.
Yeah.
Hard. No, it's actually, well, the hard part is the mindset stuff, right? Like this is the hard part. It's the other part of it is, you finish your book and then you get it, you upload it to Amazon, and it's actually super ridiculously simple. And then, like I got the, you see a little band on it, not for resale. This is the author proof. I got this within days of uploading my book to Amazon. So I thought, wow, that's amazing. Like it's going to be all good to go. But then when you hit publish, publish now, then something happens. And I don't fully understand that process. And that's all right. So I'm just, letting it go. And I have to say, I'm using this, if you will, as an opportunity, because what I was saying earlier about being curious, I'm like, okay, instead of going, why is this happening to me? Drop the to me. and adopt an attitude of, what am I going to learn from this? I ask, so what am I to learn, or what are the opportunities? Where's the gift that might come from this? And I think one of the opportunities is to share this experience. I believe that every dream that we have, there are obstacles along the way. There's bumps along the road. And we as a society tend to sweep the perceived failures and challenges under the rugs and only celebrate the victories. Well, that creates a falsehood, doesn't it? Because there's so many challenges along the road, and our job is to trust the path that we're on, to surrender to the flow of the universe, to detach from the outcomes, from our expectations of those outcomes, and to really lean into the belief that everything happens as it should in divine right time. And with those beliefs, it's easier to smile. It's easier to laugh and play. I love that this show is about, letting go and playing and having some fun. That's a big part of healing, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Yes.
Say patience is a virtue.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. I'm just reminded of
it's not one of my virtues, by the way, but it is a virtue.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's one of the lessons that I'm having to continue to learn. That has always been a challenge for me, to be patient. And it's like, okay, I get it.
Right?
Yeah, what the opposite of from Chinese medicine perspective is like, impatience is the unbalanced emotion of the heart. So the heart is like the joy and a bit connected to the present moment. So when we spend too much time in impatience, it's hard on the heart. It's like,
yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. And I do feel that this is part of my lesson is
so maybe the virtue and the blessing of there's challenges, or it might make your heart like flutter, or create a bit of extra tension, stress. But it is a virtue. It's the blessing in it. Yeah. What is your book about? I mean,
yeah. Thanks for asking.
You want to dive into that? Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting.
But it must be about like all of this. This is all happening as a perfect example. I imagine that this is what the wisdom way method is also about too. Your transformational process that you've created as
Absolutely.
well. So yeah, let's hear about that.
Yeah, well, it is about learning how to tune into the whispers of the soul, so you can step into your true potential and the best version of who you are. And I have to tell you, though, I find this so interesting. So chapter number 17 is called In Divine Right Time, Trusting Your Journey to Success. I had to reread that chapter this morning. And then I have another chapter. Chapter 27 is, again, back into the trust theme. Trust, surrender, detach, navigating the river of your dreams. And so that's what I'm living what my book is about right now. Again, it's all about really leaning in and listening to your inner wisdom, your soul voice, and trusting that path, that it's going to lead you to the best version of who you are. So thanks for asking.
I love that you reread your own chapters, because there's different viewpoints on that. There could be people out there, I'm going to speak for the audience. There could be people out there like, well, that's a little egotistical. As somebody who's a published author myself too, it's like, if you tell people you read your own book, they look at you weird sometimes they don't. But the bottom line is if I'm not willing to read my own book, why should I expect anybody else to? I mean, you should reread your own chapters, because listen, for all of us, no matter how motivated you are, how positive you are, we all go through things. We're all human beings, and we all go through things. How we handle those things can be different. But the bottom line is these tools that we have that come from a book like yours, they're not tools that you read one time and that's it. Repetition is the mother of skill. And so you have to read over and over. It's just like any book. You could read it several times and get something different out of it every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. And it's true. And it's, I wonder, about this, the art of mastering trust, surrender, and detachment. I think there are actually very few people in the world who master that.
Mm.
We develop that skill and through intention and practice, and we build it in degrees. And so I'm 1% better today because of this experience than I was just yesterday, and I really do feel that there are others out there that need to be reminded of this, that this is part of the journey of any dream that we're chasing. It's just part of the journey. And I want to, if you're listening to this, I want to encourage you, just if you're feeling disappointed or discouraged about any setback, just be curious, get curious about what it is that is yours to learn, and carry on.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what, if you could lead us through a step-by-step, like what was the chain of events through you got the cuss words. Okay. The event, okay, it's not loaded. And then the reaction, which is like, oh, bleep, bleep.
Yeah.
And then what?
And I want to hear your language to yourself, because Nicole will tell you I'm big on our inner vocabulary.
Yes.
That's also another thing with we'll get into, all the magicalness of the pipe man here and so much, but language is important. Words are important, right?
Absolutely. Well, after the initial big F-bomb that just came out very slow and drawn out, like just really letting that word just roll, I took a deep breath and I just said, okay, Anita, this is out of your control. Just breathe. You know what you should do now? Go for a walk. And that's my go-to, is stepping out into nature. I find it very calming. In fact, my book talks a lot about.
This is a part of your journey and your story of how it was sparked that. Okay. Sorry to
No, yeah, it's all good.
Of life. This is where we get to say, okay, what do you want to play with next?
I'll rewind a little bit if it's okay. So how this book came to be was during the early stages of the pandemic. I used to run. I was a founder and executive director of a national nonprofit arts organization that I ran for 18 years. And it got hit really hard by the pandemic. All of my funding got pulled practically overnight. And all of my sponsors also pulled out. And I was going deeper and deeper into my line of credit. I had a staff that I felt responsible for. And just what was going on in the world was, anxiety invoking. And I just became this other crazy woman. Like I literally, I can't recognize the woman that I became. She was just so worked up and stressed out. And I reached out to my business coach, and I asked her, what should I do? What am I going to do? And she asked me one simple question. And it was, what do you typically do when you're feeling stressed? I'm like, well, I usually go for a walk in the woods. Perfect, she said. Here's what you're going to do. Every day for the next 30 days, you're going to go for a walk in the woods. And I'm like, what? No, I can't do that. I need business advice, not nature therapy. But she really insisted, and I'm glad she did. And somehow I managed to find a way to do this. And it wasn't hard, actually. It was just, when you have the intention, you find ways, right? And I just got up a little earlier in the day, and I started my day every day with a walk in nature. And at first, I was asking that same question to God, the universe, the squirrels. What am I supposed to do? And I was demanding, really. Like I was angry and uptight. But over time, I started to really settle down. I started to feel calmer, more relaxed, and I was connecting to my environment, and I was actually starting to feel grateful to my business coach and this space that I'm in. And in that space of gratitude and feeling calm, I asked that question again. What am I supposed to do? And this time I got an answer. Well, another question, actually, but it bubbled up from within, and it was my voice that I was hearing, but it was like an older, wiser version of me. And she simply asked, what do you want to do? And I didn't miss a beat. He was like, what do you mean? What do I want to do? What am I supposed to do? It's like, no, Anita, what do you want to do? I don't know. I don't know. Yes, you do. And that stumped me, but I was intrigued, and I walked away went back home, tried to get some work done, just couldn't. And I ended up going to the bookstore later that day, and I found myself in the spirituality section, clearly still looking for answers. And this one book was caught my eye, pulled it off the shelf. I flipped it open, and it was a book by Neil Donald Walsh called Conversations with God. And Dean, that was a book that I have read now 3 or 4 times over. Like it's one of those books that I just keep going back to. But in the moment, this day, the first day I discovered it, I flip it open, and this one line felt like it literally leapt off the page at me. And it said, "Frustration and anxiety come from not listening to the soul." And that just really hit home. And I've been there before. I've been in that position where I had stopped listening to my soul voice, and it just about ruined my marriage. And I realized I needed to get connected again. I needed to find a way to tap into that soul voice or that inner wisdom. So I dedicated myself to figuring out how to do that again and how to really tune into that part of us that understands who we really are. So every day I was back in the forest, and I did find a way that works for me, that works for a lot of my clients. And can I share that with you? It's a simple 5-step process, or am I talking too much?
We would love for you to share that with us.
Okay. It's just 5 simple things. And the first thing is just literally unplug from your phones, from the devices, and get outside, plug into nature. Step away from the crazy busyness of your day. And we all are so tuned into our devices and our computers that we need to physically unplug and step outside. So that's step number 1. The second thing is to speak your gratitude, and that just helps to elevate your vibration, your mood. It gets you out of the monkey noise that goes on in here when you start to speak speak your gratitude. The third thing is to connect with your environment using all your senses. What do you see, hear, smell, taste even? Get really tactile with it and really take in your environment. This grounds you and presents you in the here and now. And that's the key. You need to be present in the here and now. You need to have this being quiet and connecting to this moment with your body through all your senses. And at that point, when you've got that grounding, that sense of presence, and you're feeling grateful, then you ask your question. And I always recommend start with, who am I? Because so many of us don't really know who we are. Or what do I want? What do I really want? And there's a third question that you come back to much later in the process. Once you are super clear about who you are and what you want, you ask, why does it matter? Why is it important to me? And you get clear on those 3 answers, you're golden. And the 5th step is to listen without judgment. And that's a really hard bit, because what you start to hear that will bubble up from within. And when I say hear, like for me, I receive things in different ways from my soul voice. And sometimes it's my voice in like that older, wiser version of me. Sometimes it's ideas and things that just pop into my head, or a feeling that this is something that I'm supposed to do, or direction I'm supposed to go in. This is how, when we are connected to the here and now, we hear in different ways through our body. And so listening without judgment is crucial. And this takes time to develop this skill as well, because we're our greatest critic. Dean, you were talking about that the voice, that we hear in our head. And often it tells us we're not enough. Who are you to do that? Right? That's a voice that I hear or heard a lot before. Sometimes it still crops up, but I'm more aware of it now, and I can get rid of that nasty DJ spinning those nasty records and invite another kinder, softer voice in to
And I love what you said about the judging, because it goes back to what I said before, that, what I was saying about when people think differently than you. My way of not judging is realizing that maybe they had a different upbringing. Maybe they had different environmental factors. Maybe it's because of the business they're in. Maybe it's because of where they live. Like even, when it comes to what people want as policies in their life, what they do for a living plays a big role in that. And I think people don't realize that. Like, so you may do one thing that's something may affect how your life is, but it may affect somebody else's life totally different. So instead of judging them for thinking differently than you, maybe try listening and understanding why they have a different belief than you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can practice that with other people and with ourselves, and stop
Hmm.
judging ourselves and stop judging other people. So it takes time and intention and an awareness.
Oh yeah. And then judging ourselves, that, I think all three of us here on here, and even the engineer could relate to that, because generally when you're people like us, you tend to be people pleasers. And a lot
Mm,
of time you're people pleasing because of your own judgments, you
yeah.
know, and and so you think of things one way in your head that maybe the rest of the world isn't perceiving it that way, and so basically, like one of my big things is, if you let somebody down, I probably think about it more than the person I let down, type of thing, you know?
So true.
And that's, or if you're going somewhere and you are somebody that is a people pleaser, you know, I think what I've learned in later years in life is everybody does what they want anyway,
Mm.
at the end of the day. And so maybe I shouldn't have spent all that time in my younger years worrying about that and worrying about me doing what I want, because I was always worrying about doing what everybody else wanted.
Yeah. It's one of the best things about getting older. We start to let go of that, don't we? Just
Mhm. Exactly, and you start to learn, like, certain things, and Nicole and I have talked about this before, about, you know, once you know what, as what you were playing, knowing what you want and why you want it, then no matter what anybody says, because when you're younger, people kind of talk you out of that, like, as an example, you could go to other people and they could say, well, that's not reality based. You should do this, this, and this, and this.
Mhm.
But maybe it is reality based because we already did those other things and they didn't really serve us well. And that's the thing. A lot of times we do things in life that don't serve us well. And we're only smart if we learn that lesson, so that later in life, we don't let people influence us in a way that will inhibit our dreams and goals of what we really want out of life.
Absolutely. And it really comes back to what you said. You have to know who you are, and what you want. I read an article not too long ago. I found it fascinating. And it said that 3% of Americans only know their core values. Only 3% know their core values. And I thought, wow, really? And then I realized that I was one of those people a decade ago who did not understand what she really valued. And even, like what you were saying about being influenced by others, if you're not clear on what's important to you, then that's how we can so easily be influenced and derailed from our
Hmm.
true path. And even, when I did this exercise initially when I went into the forest and I started listening, the message that I got, or the whisper I got about what it was that I really wanted, was that I wanted to close my business, my film business. And that came as a bit of a shock to me at first. It's like, what do you mean? No, do I really want to? No, I want to save it, don't I? And then when I really leaned into figuring out what it was that I wanted, and I realized the truth in the fact that I had actually lost my passion for that business a number of years ago, but I was holding on to it for a number of reasons, expectations, but also it was my identity. And I was so afraid to let go of that identity and not knowing what else I really wanted to do or could do, that it kept me stuck. But when I realized that, yeah, I do want to close my business, I had I kept that to myself for 2 weeks before telling even my husband, because I needed to be so rooted in the belief of this is what I want. So I was
Right.
not going to be influenced by, I knew I was going to have a ton of people asking me or trying to influence me to stay with that business. So what is the best way to reestablish your core values? Great question, Misty, and thanks for asking. There's two things, and I actually teach that a bit in my book. There's two things that you can do. You can actually do a Google search and find a list of core values, and there's all sorts of tools out there online. get that list of core values, go through it, identify 10 things that are on that list that are that you think are your most high likely core values. Then go back to those 10 lists and identify your top 4. That will take a little bit of time to really flesh out and figure out, but invest some time in getting really clear what's most important to you. And for me, I ended up choosing family, freedom, fun, and flexibility. And
those are my 3 words too.
Yeah. And whenever I make a big life decision, I have to have 3 of those have to match. And I recognize that sometimes we have to make decisions and choose things that might be out of alignment with what our ultimate goals are. You know, for instance, if my goals are family, freedom, fun, and flexibility, or my core values, and if I was given or offered a job that was paid a lot of money, but with 70 hours a week of time, that would seem like it's out of alignment with those core values if I accepted that job. However, sometimes you need to, like, maybe there's the only offer on the table, or it's a stepping stone to something else. So it's not that you negate your core values when you make that decision, but you make that decision knowingly, right? So you have to understand what those core values are so you can walk into each decision with intention. And I want to share one other way. Oh, you want to say something?
I
No,
do.
go ahead.
Only because of one thing you said, because the bottom line is maybe it is your core value, because maybe that job will enable you to get those other core values. And I think sometimes people don't think that way. They just think, because they think of maybe just their one main primary core value. But I think all the core values all make you, and they all relate to each other.
Well,
yeah, they do. I agree 100%. You just need to understand what they are, and then you can make a decision based on those core values, or what this action will do to get you closer or further away from those values. So it's very powerful. The other way to help you identify core values is to think of a time in your life where you just felt at your best. You were really enjoying life. Write a story, write out about that experience, and then go back and just circle some of the key phrases and characteristics that you use to describe that experience. And that'll give you some insights into your core value. And I write about that in my book to help people guide them through that process. It's a really fun journey to do that and to reflect on, a time that you felt at your greatest, you were the happiest or most joyful. And you'll be able to pick out characteristic traits that speak to your core values.
For me, that was this morning before my cord went bad.
Oh, yeah. What did you identify as your core values?
I think I identified that I needed power to do this interview.
Got you.
And get all this wealth of information, and to find out how to get your book. Maybe this is a good time to tell all the listeners how they can get your book. Now, that might be a tricky question because of your glitches today.
No, I can direct you. I just want to say, Dean, that you demonstrated dedication and commitment. So to me, like in that story, and what you did to make it to the show. So to me, that tells me that that's a core value. That dedication, commitment is a core value. So that, you know what I mean? That's how you use a story.
100%.
That's a story, a little story, and it tells you about what's important to you. Can core values change? Absolutely. Great question. I recommend reviewing your core values every 6 months. Yeah, they definitely change.
Yeah.
So how you can get my book. Thank you for being interested in that. I'm directing everybody to my website. So I have, there's a couple things there. You can, I'm actually hosting a launch party on May 2nd. Maybe it'll be a pre-launch party still, but it's, I don't know. We'll come together and celebrate anyways. It's an online event, and there's a link on my website that you can grab if you're interested in coming and being a part of that. I'll do a little reading from the book. There's prizes. There's different things. It'll be a fun online event. And then there's another place that you can just sign up and say, hey, I'm interested in your book. Let me know when it's going to be released, and I'll send you the direct links when it comes out. And when you're on my website, so it's joyfulinspiredliving.com/books. Scroll down, because I have a number of launch partners that are making some beautiful offers, giving a lot of stuff away for free. So, and that's all available to you right now. So you can scroll through some of that content. There's meditations, there's free ebooks, there's complimentary coaching calls. Somebody was asking about the publishing process. My publisher, she's offering a step-by-step process on what to do to get your book live. So, it's a free download that you can get. So go and check all that great stuff out. And while you're there, get on my list so I can let you know when the book is actually available.
The day is still going, it's still the 30th. So
yeah, absolutely.
Might still be a chance.
You never know.
You're definitely a compelling and engaging storyteller, and I really enjoyed hearing your sharing your joy and excitement and journey within this book process for you, because that is quite a journey. And it just really does show your commitment and dedication. All this information can be found on your website.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And then we can maybe pop it into the chat and all the links. Your website is joyfulinspiredliving.com. And for the book, you can go to /books, joyfulinspiredliving.com/books.
Yeah. And I'm check out there's an events link there as well. Right. I'm offering a bunch of free discussion groups on themes from the book. And once a month, there's an opportunity for people to come together online to talk about some of the themes, and surrender is one of the themes.
I think when it comes to like the whispers of the soul, it's such a interesting topic, and something that we can build a muscle around. It is a skill, and it's something that maybe because of all the judgments or society's limitations or structures that we think we need to live by, we grow up kind of in a container, most of us, right? And it's like it takes courage and a lot of uncomfortable situations to get out of that. Training, reconditioning ourselves, and listening to the whispers, I believe they get more and more clear the more we are aware of them. And so I can't wait to get my copy. I'm very excited to have had you on the show. We've got maybe some time here to wrap up. Any last thoughts?
Well, I'm super grateful for people like both of you who are leading conversations like this and making it possible to help more. And like the healing language is so important. So yeah, I'm just grateful, super grateful for this.
And I want to go to what we were talking about influence and the chatter and stuff, because your core values, I think a lot of them are always there. And as we get older, all these outside influences and outside chatter instead of our inside chatter, that starts getting louder instead of what's inside our head. We all have these voices in our head, and listen, that soulful voice, every time I've not listened to it, it has not been a good move. But every time I listen to it, it's like, yeah, see, I knew it. But we do tend to ignore things sometimes. So I say, don't ignore. And I say, if you want to get back to your core values, eliminate out of your brain those influences. And it sounds simple, which it is, but it's not easy. Those influences and those voices you've had all your life that tried to stop you from thinking the way you do. Yeah. A very important story to that is, I was doing this charity event once, and so I ice skate. I have my own ice skates. I'm 57 years old. At the time, I don't know, it was, what was I, like 53 or 54, I think it happened. And there was somebody else that I had a show on the station, and she was going with me to this charity event, and we were covering it. And it was at an ice skating rink here in West Palm Beach. And so what did I do? It was an ice skating charity event. I brought my skates and I intended on going ice skating. And she looked at me and she's like, "You're going to skate?" I'm like, yeah, that's why it's called an ice skating charity event. Okay. And then she was like, "And you have your own skates?" I'm like, yeah. And so the first part I'm going to say about that is there's that outside influence, that outside chatter, because
Yeah.
what came next could change a person if you're not strong enough in your inner vocabulary and your soulful voice, because she's like, "What are you, a child?"
Hmm.
And like, who made up these rules that at 50 whatever years old I was, that you can't go ice skating and you
Yeah.
can't have your own ice skates? Like, there's these rules that have been put on us of what you do and don't do. Like, I even remember way back when, I don't know, I was like entering middle school, and my dad like was very forceful in stopping me to watch cartoons, because you don't that's for kids. There's plenty of adults that watch anime or cartoons and stuff, and there's even adult, like they have that Adult Swim network because that's adult cartoons.
I love
But
cartoons.
right. So, but if you go by certain people like that, then it's like, "Oh my God, I can't do something I enjoy because society says I shouldn't."
Yeah. Yeah.
Society says I shouldn't be doing. Listen, yesterday I was skateboarding in the parking lot of my condo here, where there are people that forget that they are still alive, and they're all looking at me weird, like I'm like this teenager, and it's like, there's just certain things. If you want to get back to your core, just be you, and maybe go back to when you were a kid before all
Yeah.
this other negative chatter. It's just like
Right.
hate that we have in the world. Hate is taught. Little kids, they don't even know enough to hate somebody, and
Yeah.
I think we could learn from them better than we can learn from the adults that are trying to influence us on our everyday life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I often talk. Sorry, you go ahead,
Oh,
Nick.
go ahead. No. It's imagination and creativity, and they're so pure, and we get so beat down, and then we get the stuckness and the judgments, and that's what creates like immobility and disease in our body. And this is
Absolutely.
what it's like, deciphering that stuff, creating flow, freedom, flexibility. I love it. Go ahead, Anita.
Yeah, I was just going to add that I often, in my book, I talk about not necessarily just learning. It's more about remembering who we really are. And how you do that is tuning into that inner child, really,
Yeah.
connecting with that youthful child who loves everybody and everything and is curious. Bring back that word again. And they wear their wonder goggles everywhere, and they're excited to just make new discoveries, and they're not full of judgment. They're full of acceptance, so it's about reclaiming who we once were, relearning how to be.
I know.
love
I'm very curious about the question of like, when did you forget? When did you forget?
It's different for all of us, and I think for me, it was in my early teens when I had an abusive stepdad who came into my life and was really pushing me down, hammering me down, telling me I was stupid and all this stuff. We all have different stories, right? We all have our story where we felt like we weren't enough, or made to feel small, or where we were told what is going on in here. We shouldn't listen to it. We shouldn't trust our intuition. We shouldn't trust, those hunches that are other influences in our lives, and society on a whole tells us who we should be. The media dictates to us how we should look, what we should, how much we should weigh.
Yeah. Well, just turn it all off and get outside.
Yeah, that's my
Trust
solution.
that soulful voice.
Yeah. Whispers
And-
of the soul. Okay, so Anita, we can find you at joyfulinspiredliving.com, and we will wait for news on your release of
Yes.
Whispers of the Soul. Thank
Hopefully
you so much
it'll
for
be days.
joining us. Yeah, it will be very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Certain.
I'm sure
You've
too.
come so far, and just be patient and enjoy the present moment. Yeah.
Thank you for
Thanks,
this
White
beautiful
Man, for
conversation.
coming, for being
And
here.
Nicole, thank you. And don't forget that they need to tune in every
Oh, yeah.
Tuesday at this time at 2 p.m. Eastern time or wherever you are in the world. And man, this was amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing, Anita. And it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. it
Beautiful.
truly
Thank
has
you.
been. Yeah. Thanks so much. All right,
Thank you.
Rebel, hit it. Roll the credits. Thanks. See you next
Wow, what a show today. And the journey does not stop here. Come travel the world with Nicole every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time as together we become more fluent in the language of healing on W4WN Radio and Talk4 TV. See you next week.